You know that feeling when you mess up so badly that all you can do is laugh and accept your fate? Well, that was me. I already convinced myself that I bombed Lesen and Horen, so when it came to Sprechen, all I wanted to do is just to get through it and at least have some fun. The pressure was gone because I figured if I'm going to fail at something, it's already happened, so why stress now? And weirdly enough, that mindset made the Sprechen part the most relaxed and enjoyable part of the exam. However, I feel like it was the consistency of my speaking study routine that saved me. So even though the pressure to prove myself was already gone, the habits that I have built kicked in automatically. It's like my brain went on autopilot and everything that I had practiced just came out without needing me to think too hard. So with that, I welcome you to the final part of this 4-part series where I break down my tips, resources, and strategies that help me pass the Goethe B2 German exam. Today, we're finally collecting the last infinity stone, which is the speaking part. So what makes speaking challenging? Well, the best way to really know if you can really use a language is by speaking it. That's where it all comes together. Communication and comprehension. But here's the thing, speaking involves multiple layers of processing. First, you need to understand what's being said, and that's your input. Then you need to respond, and that's your output. And in between these two steps, your brain is actually doing a lot of work. Interpreting ideas, thinking of a response, choosing the right words, and then actually producing sounds, which is saying them. And that's a lot happening in just a few seconds. I've talked more about this in a previous video, so if you want to dive deeper into this process, you'll find a link here or in the description box. Well, speaking is also challenging in this part because in the B2 exam, you're expected to go beyond just talking. You need to express your opinions clearly, explain your reasoning, give relevant examples, and do all of that by using B2 level vocabulary and grammar. And let's not forget, you'll also be speaking with a partner. So you're not just talking, you're interacting, listening, responding, and keeping the conversation flowing. But here's something important. Speaking doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Like, it doesn't exist on its own. Your reading and listening skills actually help in understanding. Writing sharpens your grammar and sentence structure. But speaking, it brings it all together, and that's a skill that requires the most coordination. So how do you improve coordination? Practice. Lots of it. So let's go and put in the reps. Chapter 1, building my speaking foundation. I started consistently building the foundation of my speaking skills in 2022 by taking 1 to 2 online classes per week and by focusing on grammar using my grammar books and expanding my vocabulary using the Goethe vocabulary word list. The more intense part of the preparation, which I'll be talking about in the exam prep chapter, only really started when I got closer to the exam date, which is from May to August 2023. Chapter 2, Exam Preparation, how I actually trained for the speaking exam. Well, the most important thing to do when you're preparing for the speaking part of the exam is to actually start speaking more in German. There's no shortcut to it. You have to really do it. Well, there's a lot of ways on how you can get to have speaking practice. You can book online classes, find a language partner, or you can even try to talk to yourself. And yes, that is an option. I've shared a video before on how you can improve your speaking skills. So if you want a more detailed version, I'll link that here and you'll find it also on the description box. But if you're in a rush, here's the quick version of how I prepared for the exam. Just a disclaimer, what I did is really, I don't know why I did that. It's totally exhausting. But I told myself if I want to improve on something, I'm really going to challenge myself. That way, I feel like the exam would be a little bit more manageable rather than doing the easy part on the practice and then hating myself during the exam. I did a Lingoda sprint wherein I have to take online classes every day for 60 days. I'm proud to say that I made it all the way through except the last day because I was so tired. I told myself that I'm just gonna have like a short nap. I even set an alarm. I woke up around like 5 minutes before the start of my class and decided to do a tiny little nap again, like 1 to 2 minutes. And by the time I woke up, the class was over. So I didn't get the refund, But that's fine. My dad told me, well, that's payment for your teachers anyway. So I guess that was fine. It was a good challenge because I was like betting on myself, if I finish the sprint, I'll get some money back. So that was a reward. If I don't get anything back, well, at least I improve my speaking. Well, it did really improve my speaking. Well, this speaking training is really mentally and physically intense. So please listen to your body and just don't push too hard like I did. One thing I really liked about Lingo, though, was that you don't get to have the same teacher every class. So that was a really good practice. Despite the exhaustion, it really helped me get used to different speaking styles, different accents, and different feedback. That was really good for developing spontaneity, which I really needed for the exam. On top of that Lingo the Sprint, I was also taking weekly classes on Verbling with my main teacher. We were mostly talking about B2 topics, more on like conversation type, to really just improve my spontaneity and get used to B2 topics. And I've also mentioned that in the past that having a main teacher was really important in order for me to kind of individualize my training method, like what really works for me. And at the same time, he was also giving me like emotional support as I get closer to the exam because it was nerve-wracking for me. So I have the Lingo, the Sprint, and then I have the weekly Verbling classes. And then I also added Italki lessons. I did this for like around 2 to 3 times per week, especially as I got closer to the exam. Since my classes here only was around 30 minutes at a time, it was mostly practice on doing Teil 1, which is you have to give like a short presentation. Sometimes I think we did some discussion. I have 3 teachers who really have different personalities to, again, help me get used to spontaneity. I know that sounds a lot, which is why I mentioned my disclaimer. It really trained me to speak more, like practice forcing out German words out of my brain, whether I'm ready or not, improve my pronunciation and not feel intimidated, and of course, get over that fear of making mistakes. I also did a video wherein I documented my progress from B1 to B2, so if you want to check that out, you can find that link here, or you can find it again on the description box below. So what if you can't do online classes? I know not everyone can have the time or the resources to do classes, and that's okay. I've also made a video on how to find a language partner, and I'll link that as well here or on the description box below. It's also important during the exam preparation that you continue to build your grammar and vocabulary foundation. I know they can be boring, confusing, and kind of annoying, but trust me, like powering through them will really pay off. So whenever I'm answering my grammar book and reviewing my vocabulary, I just think to myself that grammar is important because it works like a cement that holds the bricks together, and the bricks are words or the vocabulary words that help provide ideas and context to my sentence. So I can't build a solid wall without both of these. So on this part, I really try to focus on getting B2 level vocabulary. I use the vocabulary words I got from the book Deutsch Intensiv B1 and B2. And I also reviewed the Goethe A1 to B1 word list using my Anki. And you can find all of those links in my description box. For grammar, I focus a lot of my review on sentence structure, and I did my grammar drills using the book Grammatik Aktiv A1 to B1 and B2 to C1. I focused on practicing on Nebensatz and word order, as these show that you can use more complex sentence structures, especially when giving reasons to your opinion and discussing a topic, which is essential for this part of the exam. I also used several books that helped me prepare for the speaking part. I mainly used So geht's mit Erfolg, Deutsch Prüfungstraining, the Goethe Übungsbuch, and I also used the book that I mentioned in my last video, which is the 65 Themen zum Schreiben und Sprechen Vor- und Nachteile, Sprachniveau B2 und C1. This book is really helpful, especially if you're pressed on time, as it can give you ideas what could be your opinion on a certain topic, as well as the disadvantage and advantages, even give you ideas for like options. These books help me get used to the topics, questions, and structures that I could encounter in the exam. I mostly got my books either from Amazon or eBay. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give out PDF copies because it's going to be hard for me to scan them. And number two, I don't want any authors coming after my channel. Maybe you can try your luck and see if it's in Google. During the preparation for my exam, I just really kept on listening, reading, and writing. I did this because listening really helps with comprehension, which is important when I'm having conversations, because the better you understand, the better you can respond. I did my best to keep on reading because it helps with vocabulary and sentence structure. And writing really trains your grammar in a more slower, intentional way. And it helps you notice your sentence patterns, which transfers to speaking. You can refer to my previous B2 German exam videos, which is also in this series, to get to know how I built my foundations on these areas. Another thing that's important during this preparation is to get to know the speaking exam format. You really need to know what you're up against. That's why I really recommend learning the structure for the speaking exam early on. Teil 1, which is short presentation or Kurzvortrag. Here you'll give a short presentation about a specific topic. This could involve discussing opinion, experience, and findings related to that certain topic. Teil 2 is discussion. Here you will engage in a discussion with a speaking partner focusing on a specific topic. You will likely be provided with additional materials such as text or images to help guide the conversation. This part really requires you to exchange arguments, share opinions, and potentially address counter arguments. Getting to know the format of the speaking test really helped me mentally prepare for both parts. Practice taking short notes. You'll have 15 minutes to prepare for both Teil 1 and Teil 2. During the exam part, Teil 1 lasts for 4 minutes while Teil 2 goes around for 5 minutes. Make sure that you use all the preparation time to take notes because it helps you collect and organize your thoughts and ideas so you're not going to be scrambling once you start speaking. During your partner's presentation on Teil 1, make sure that you listen and take notes as well because you'll need to ask a follow-up question after they give their presentation. So once the 15-minute preparation time is up, you won't be getting any more time. So make sure you use it wisely. When you're doing the prep, it's important to start using Redemittel and learn how to have a flexible structure for the presentation. Even early on, I started collecting and using Redemittel, and these are phrases that really help give structure to your responses. Helped me with it. Having a good structure was really great because it feels like you have a mental checklist of what you need to say. Plus, it will help you stay clear and organized during the test because most have difficulty starting and ending presentation or discussions, and you'll most likely have a better flow of what you need to say once you have a good start. So I have my presentation structure available on my Coffee account as a freebie, which you can find the link on the description box below. But, and this is important because even if you memorize all the Redemittels, the structure, and the possible answers to all the B2 topics or write lots on your scratch paper, the examiners will still be checking if you can speak spontaneously and naturally. They'll notice if you're constantly looking down or reading instead of talking, and they will be asking questions. Also, since you'll be paired with someone else for the second part of the exam, you won't be able to control the flow of the conversation. That's why in the end, I always go back to this. Practice speaking, especially doing it spontaneously. Because memorizing is not enough. You need to be able to respond on the spot. Chapter 3, Exam Strategies. This chapter is all about what you can do during the exam itself to give your best performance. Teil 1, short presentation or Kurzvortrag. This part might really seem intimidating at first. After all, you're expected to talk for a few minutes straight in German. But don't worry, with structure and practice, it will become manageable. First, you'll be choosing from 2 topics. Read the topics carefully and choose the easier one. In choosing a topic, you can ask yourself which topic can you give alternatives, examples, and or give pros and cons with less difficulty. Second is to write down the key points that you're supposed to include in your presentation. Next thing is you think about your answers and then jot down your own keywords next to the required parts. Usually you'll be asked to express your opinions, give alternatives, mention advantages and disadvantages, to weigh your options or describe specific option or alternative. And then you'll just use the presentation structure to help organize the flow of your Vortrag. So I have my presentation structure available on my Coffee account as a freebie, which you can find the link on the description box below. Make sure you practice using this presentation structure on different B2 topics during your exam prep so you won't feel all over the place during the exam, even if you feel nervous. Important, during the prep time of this exam, make sure that you stick to keywords only and avoid writing full sentences. The test proctors are trained to spot if you are reading and it's very obvious. So think of it like you're just giving a class presentation. You should know what you want to say and not reading everything word for word. At the end of your presentation, expect 1 to 2 follow-up questions. This will really help test your spontaneity and see if you can speak naturally and whether you can extend your answer. Make sure you listen to your speaking partner and take notes when it's their turn to give a presentation because you'll be giving a feedback and asking them a question. You and your speaking partner won't have the same topics to choose from during the first part of the speaking exam. That also means that you won't be able to prepare for a question ahead of time. So make sure that you really listen and take notes when it's their turn speaking. And of course, your partner will be doing the same thing. Great. Don't just answer with a yeah or nein if you're asked with a simple yes or no question. You can try to rephrase the question into a statement before giving your answer to buy time and to show fluency. So make sure you answer in complete sentences. And then always back up your answer with a reason or example. Now, if you don't have a real-life experience for examples related to the topic, make one up. You're graded on the language, not on honesty. And remember, and I will always emphasize this, that being on B2 level means that you can form an opinion, explain it, and support it with examples. Teil 2, Diskussion or partner discussion. This section feels more natural for many test takers as you'll be interacting with a speaking partner. You'll be given a prompt and expected to discuss and agree on a conclusion. This task usually involves comparing 2 options and eventually coming up with a common decision. So my strategy during the prep time for this part of the exam is first, read the prompt or question that you will be discussing and underline the important keywords. Second, write down keywords of what you need to include in the discussion. Third, it would be helpful to try to think of possible counter arguments and how you can possibly react to it. Make sure you think of examples, whether it's real or imaginary, to support your arguments. Decide on your opinion or standpoint, but stay flexible in case you need to agree with your speaking partner later. During the discussion, you can ask first if you and your partner want to use du or sie. If your partner hesitates, you can take the lead. Start with your structured intro and ease them in. Use Redemittels to help guide your flow. You can ask your speaking partner questions like Was denkst du? Wie findest du das? Or Was hältst du davon? These questions are really helpful, especially if you feel like your partner is not elaborating or not giving enough arguments. This part is really about teamwork, not winning the debate. So if you feel like your partner won't budge and the time's almost up, it's okay to just agree for the sake of completing the task, which is agreeing on a decision at the end. If you're stuck and you don't know what to answer right away, you can paraphrase what your partner just said to buy time and to show understanding of what they said. You really want to encourage your partner to speak if they're more of like a quiet type, because the goal of this part of the test is to have a discussion and not a monologue. Your grade can really benefit from it by being collaborative. If you can, and if the time still permits, you can have a summary of what you agreed on at the end of the discussion. Just some general notes for both parts. You will not be penalized for mistakes or pronunciations unless they interfere with understanding. When finding your words, try to pause instead of just saying, or. I know this habit is really hard to stop, but try to be intentional with it because you'll be easier to understand if you take pauses instead of fillers. And sometimes these could be really distracting. Speak slow so you can follow your sentence structure and train of thought. Always have examples, whether they're real or not, because it really helps back up your arguments. Make sure you really practice spontaneity because as much as having a structure is helpful, what matters to the test proctors is having fluency and natural reaction. When you're practicing for the speaking part of the exam, try to do it in front of the mirror and set a timer because it helps simulate the exam environment. You'll get used to speaking under time pressure while staying focused because you are the best distraction to yourself. During the exam, it's better to keep speaking and mess up than being silent. And that being said, don't try to be perfect. Try to be understandable, structured, and engaged. Better to die fighting was my motto during this part of the exam. You really have to give your best and don't let fear hold you back. Chapter 4, Mindset. Now that we've covered foundation, preparation, and strategies, let's shift our gears into something that is just as important, your mindset going into the exam. Because at the end of the day, how you think and how you feel about this process will really affect how you will show up for the exam. So let's ground ourselves into a kind of mindset that will actually help you move forward. Making mistakes is a normal part of learning. It's really impossible to be error-free in the beginning, especially when you are building your speaking foundation. So really give yourself a lot of grace. When building your speaking foundation and during the prep, don't rush to see the progress. Just try to focus on the daily task, that daily grind of you practicing speaking, and the progress will just follow. You really have to trust that your brain will do the work and is working on it as long as you are putting in the effort. I know it's weird. We get really impatient. We want that the progress would come in an instant, but it really does take a lot of time. It's so gradual. It's impossible to track it daily, but you'll be surprised how far you're gonna come. Challenging yourself might actually be a key to your progress because when you challenge yourself, you get into a sink or swim mindset that can really push you forward. Once you start with your presentation and discussion, make sure you have confidence. I mean, you worked hard for this, provided that you did foundations and work on during the preparation part. Just take a deep breath and don't let any stutter or weird accent stop you from passing the exam. I myself get comments on how I pronounce some words, but honestly, like, who's losing sleep over mistakes and imperfections? Like, no one. No one will care how you performed at the end of the day, so I hope that thought can make you less self-conscious. During the preparation part of the exam, if you feel like you still have a lot of things to work on, just focus on the task that you will be doing on that day and not think about what you need to accomplish next week, tomorrow, next month, or else you're just gonna get too overwhelmed and feel stuck. It's easier to manage studying for an exam when you focus on what you need to do today and not in the future. I remember feeling stutter during the speaking part of the test, but one thing that really helped me was holding a pen. I was like really clenching it so tightly like this while delivering my speech. It gave me something to ground myself, like a way to release tension aside from breathing. Tests are designed to challenge you, and that's the reason why they're called tests. But through them, you'll get to see how far you've come and what still needs improvement. So keep that in mind when it starts to feel like it's too hard, because it is hard. It's supposed to be hard, because the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can move forward and start preparing for it. I think that was my main mindset throughout the entire B2 exam, just like radical acceptance for every part of the test. Like, give your best, even if you feel like you flunked one part. Don't let the other parts suffer. Like, just try and keep on redeeming yourself. Remind yourself how much you've studied and how far you've come. I mean, this is already B2. You've already went past through A1, A2, B1, B2. Most of all, keep being hopeful. I know failing is a part of life, but don't fixate on the idea that you might or you will fail. Those thoughts are normal, but what matters is what you do with them. Focus on actions and strategies that will help prevent failure, because the more you do nothing, the more that fear will creep in. But taking action helps reduce anxiety. This is the part where my motto, better to die fighting, comes in. I hope you were able to pick up something helpful. If not for the B2 exam itself, then at least to improve your speaking skills. As always, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe. By doing so, you are not only helping me, but you are also helping the algorithm share this video with another German learner who might need all the tips and strategies that I've shared in this video. Thank you all for your patience as I work through this series. It's been really tough lately. I have YouTube, and then I'm studying, and then settling my life here in Germany. But hey, that's for another video. And I also wanted to say a huge thank you for all the comments and DMs on my Instagram and support on my coffee account. Every message genuinely helped motivate me to keep going, to keep creating. Yes, even those ones that make fun of my pronunciation. Because if you notice them, I noticed them first. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers! I'm sorry, we are recording. You want lambing. We're doing this with a cat. Important, make sure that you... Okay, she's here. Okay, I can't do anything. Okay, you stay here, okay?